In the quiet town of Makoti, young Zuri grew up in a grand mansion that never felt like home. The house was big, full of noise and shiny things, but there was no warmth for her. Her stepfather, Chief Makoji, treated her like she didn't belong. While his own children got the best clothes, the best food, and the best rooms, Zuri was given leftovers, in silence. She did everything to please him, always kind, always helping, but it was never enough. He would say in front of everyone, "You're not my real daughter. You're just an extra mouth to feed." Those words stayed with her like a scar. During birthdays, holidays, family trips, Zuri was always on the outside looking in. They took photos without her, wrote cards without her name, and celebrated victories as if she didn't exist. Still, she never complained. She watched, listened, and smiled even when it hurt. But deep inside, a quiet strength was growing. Zuri may not have had a place in the family's heart, but she had a fire in her own. While others were busy being loved, she was learning how to survive. And one day, that strength would become her power. Because Zuri wasn't just the girl left out. She was the girl they would never see coming. Chief Makoji was known across West Africa as a successful businessman. He owned SaharaTranz, one of the biggest logistics companies in the region. His trucks carried goods from city to city, and people praised his business skills. At home, he walked like a king, and his sons followed closely behind, acting like little princes. They believed the company already belonged to them. They wore expensive clothes, went to clubs and wasted money without care. Sometimes they crashed the company cars and laughed about it. They never worked a single day seriously, but they still felt proud just because they were Makoji's sons. Zuri was different. She lived in the same house, but not in the same world. She was Makoji's stepdaughter, and he made sure she never forgot that. He treated her like she didn't belong. But Zuri was smart. She had a gift for numbers, for planning, and for seeing what others missed. She knew she would never be invited to the top, so she decided to start from the bottom. She asked for a small job at SaharaTranz, and they gave her a clerk's position. Nobody thought it mattered. But for Zuri, it was the beginning. She worked late nights when the office was empty. She studied files, checked delivery reports, counted expenses, and paid attention to every little detail. No one noticed her, and she liked it that way. While her stepbrothers laughed and partied, Zuri was learning how the whole business ran. She understood how trucks were scheduled, how money flowed, and where mistakes were hidden. She didn't need to speak. The numbers spoke to her. Zuri wasn't loud, but she was focused. Day by day, she became the only person who truly knew how SaharaTranz worked from the inside. She didn't chase power, she prepared for it. While others wasted time, she was building her future in silence. No one saw her as a threat, but that would soon change. Because the girl in the shadows was not just watching. She was quietly getting ready to lead. The grand hall was filled with bright lights, loud music and rich laughter. It was the 25th anniversary of SaharaTranz, and Chief Makoji had invited top businessmen, politicians, and media to celebrate. The room sparkled with gold and silver decorations, and the air smelled of expensive perfume and pride. Makoji stood tall on the stage, smiling like a king in his palace. His sons walked around in suits, shaking hands, laughing loudly, drinking wine like future rulers. Zuri sat quietly in the corner of the hall, near the waitstaff, in a plain dress. She wasn't invited to sit with the family. No one even noticed her. As the speeches began, Zuri clapped politely. Then she heard Makoji's voice booming through the microphone. "My sons will take over SaharaTranz," he said proudly. "They are the future of this company. They were born for this." The crowd cheered. Zuri kept her head down, but her heart sank. Then came the part that hit her like a slap. Makoji laughed and added, "Zuri? She can serve drinks. That's all she'll ever do here." Some people chuckled. Others looked away. No one stood up for her. She sat frozen, holding back tears, staring at the empty glass in front of her. In that moment, something inside Zuri changed. It wasn't her heart that broke, it was her silence. All these years she had accepted being invisible, being treated like less. But tonight, under those bright lights and fake smiles, she decided she wouldn't stay silent anymore. She walked out of that banquet with her head high and her eyes sharp. Makoji thought she was just the girl in the corner, but he had no idea what she was becoming. That night, Zuri made herself a quiet promise. Never again would she be the one serving drinks while others toasted to her pain. The day of Zuri's mother's funeral was quiet, just like her life had been. There were no grand speeches or important guests. Only a few neighbors and some distant relatives came. Zuri stood alone by the graveside, her eyes full of silent tears. Her mother had always been her safe place, her only real family in a house where love was something she had to earn. Now that one person who truly cared for her was gone. After the funeral, Zuri returned to her mother's small, neat room. Everything still smelled like her, gentle, soft, warm. Zuri sat beside the old sewing machine, the one her mother had used every day. As she ran her hand over it, she heard a soft click. Curious, she opened the bottom drawer, and hidden deep inside was a small, sealed envelope. Her name was written on it in her mother's handwriting. With trembling fingers, she opened it. Inside were old, carefully folded documents. Zuri began to read, and her heart almost stopped. The papers showed that her mother had helped start SaharaTranz before she ever married Chief Makoji. She was not just a housewife or a helper, she was a co-founder. And even more shocking, the documents proved that her mother still owned 35% of the company. The shares were registered under her maiden name, hidden quietly all these years. Zuri's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness this time, but from something deeper, truth. All her life, she was made to feel like she didn't belong, like she was just an extra mouth to feed. But now she knew the truth. Her mother had built that company. Her mother had protected a legacy. And now, it was in Zuri's hands. The girl they ignored, the girl they laughed at, now held a secret that could change everything. Her mother had left her more than love. She had left her power, silent, hidden but real. And now, Zuri was ready to use it. Not for revenge, but to finally take her place. Zuri didn't waste time. The same night she found the documents hidden in her mother's sewing machine. She packed them carefully and took a quiet bus to the nearby town of Abanda. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. Not Makoji, not the staff, not even the driver at home. She went alone, wearing a simple dress and carrying her mother's legacy in a brown envelope. There, she met Advocate Nwosu, a calm and serious lawyer who was known for being loyal, quiet, and very sharp. She told him everything, about her mother, the shares, and how Makoji had kept her in the shadows all her life. Advocate Nwosu didn't ask too many questions. He read the papers, nodded slowly, and said, "We can do this." Together, they began the process to legally transfer her mother's 35% ownership of SaharaTranz into Zuri's name. All the shares were still valid and untouched, and since they were listed under her mother's maiden name, Makoji had no control over them. Everything was done with care and silence. No phone calls, no visits, no emails. Just paperwork and quiet power. Within weeks, it was done. Without anyone knowing, not even the board members, Zuri became the second largest shareholder in SaharaTranz. But unlike Makoji's sons, who only knew how to crash company cars, Zuri understood how the company truly worked. She knew the routes, the finances, the logistics, the people. She had been learning quietly for years, and now she had both the knowledge and the power. Back in the office, Makoji still walked around proud and loud, completely unaware that the girl he once called an extra mouth now held the keys to a third of his empire. Zuri didn't change anything yet. She still worked quietly, still said little. But inside her, everything had changed. Now, she wasn't just the ignored stepdaughter. She was a silent force, one move away from changing the future of SaharaTranz forever. While Chief Makoji was enjoying sun and cocktails on a luxurious retreat in Mauritius, thinking the company was running smoothly in his absence, Zuri was making her most powerful move yet. Quietly, with no public noise, she called for a secret board meeting. Only key investors and board members were invited. No assistants, no family, no distractions. The meeting was held inside the SaharaTranz boardroom, a room where she had once only brought files or coffee. Now, she stood at the head of the table. She began with calm confidence, greeting them politely before presenting the facts. One by one, she laid out documents, real solid evidence, showing years of financial abuse by Makoji. There were invoices for fake deals, personal expenses disguised as company costs, and large transfers to offshore accounts. Some board members gasped. Others looked down, ashamed they had never noticed. Zuri, without raising her voice, explained how the company's future was at risk under such careless leadership. Then came the surprise. She revealed that LionMile Global, a fast-growing logistics firm and their biggest competitor, had made an offer to buy SaharaTranz. But it wasn't just a buyout. LionMile wanted Zuri to lead the company into a new era, clean, smart, and forward-thinking. She explained the terms, the benefits, and most of all, the rescue plan for saving the company from collapse. The room was silent for a moment. Then heads began to nod. One by one, the board members voted in favor of Zuri's deal. The decision was unanimous. In a single meeting, she turned everything around. The girl once hidden in the shadows had just saved the company in broad daylight. And Makoji? Still laughing on a beach, not knowing that while he relaxed, everything he built was slipping right out of his hands and into the hands of the daughter he never claimed. The day Makoji returned from his luxurious retreat in Mauritius, he walked into the SaharaTranz building with his usual proud smile, expecting warm greetings and respect. But something felt strange. The receptionist avoided eye contact. The security guards looked confused. He reached for the glass door, tapped his office keycard, nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. His access had been removed. Annoyed, he walked to the front desk and demanded someone fix it. They quietly told him to wait. Makoji pulled out his phone to check emails. Maybe there was a tech issue. But every time he tried, the messages bounced back. Invalid user, it said. He frowned. He opened the company website to check the contact page. And that's when he saw it. His photo, his name, everything had been removed. In place of founder and CEO was a new title. Acting Director, Zuri Adebayo. Before he could react, Zuri walked in. Calm. Confident. Wearing her late mother's emerald green suit. The same one her mother wore the day SaharaTranz was first launched. She looked powerful, but not angry. She walked straight to Makoji and handed him a clean white envelope. Inside was an official letter with company stamps and board signatures. It read, "This company no longer recognizes you as a decision maker. Kindly vacate the premises immediately." Makoji looked up at Zuri, shocked, speechless. The daughter he had ignored, the girl he pushed aside for years, was now the one with full control. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She simply turned and walked away. Staff members watched in silence. Some looked surprised, others relieved. Zuri had not just taken over. She had done it with grace, proof, and strength. Makoji stood there, no longer the boss, no longer in charge. That was the day his passwords stopped working, and the day Zuri stepped fully into her power. After Makoji was removed, the real drama began. Not in the boardroom, but at home. His sons, who had always laughed at Zuri and treated her like a nobody, suddenly found themselves lost and powerless. The company cars they once drove recklessly were now off limits. The credit cards were cut. Their names were nowhere on the new leadership list. At first, they didn't believe it. Then reality hit. One of the brothers stormed into a lawyer's office, trying to sue Zuri for stealing the company. But when the lawyer saw the paperwork, signed board approvals, legal share ownership under their mother's name, proof of financial misconduct by their father, he quietly told him there was no case. Another brother, the quieter one, came to Zuri in tears. He asked for a small job, any job, even if it meant starting at the bottom. Zuri looked at him, her face calm but firm, and simply said, "This company is no longer run by favoritism." As the new CEO under LionMile's leadership, Zuri got to work quickly. She let go of the old staff who had only been loyal to Makoji's family. She hired fresh minds, young, smart, and hardworking. She restructured the departments, improved the systems, and brought discipline to every corner of SaharaTranz. People started to talk, not just about her success but about her style. Quiet. Professional. Strong. In one special part of the building, she made a small but powerful change. She renamed a wing of the office Mama's Corner, decorated with her mother's favorite flowers and photos from the early days of the company. Every time she walked past it, she felt grounded. Zuri didn't seek revenge. She didn't scream or brag. She simply moved forward. The same girl who used to sit at the edge of family dinners now sat at the head of the table. And this time, the seat was hers by right, not because someone gave it to her, but because she earned it. Months passed, and the world saw a new Zuri. Strong, respected, and admired by the business world. SaharaTranz was growing under her leadership, and her name was finally known across the industry, not as someone's stepdaughter, but as a woman who saved a sinking empire. Then one rainy evening, something unexpected happened. The guard at her mansion's gate rang the bell. "Ma, someone is here to see you." Zuri walked to the entrance, and her eyes met a face she hadn't seen in months. It was Chief Makoji. But he didn't look like the man who once walked with pride and power. His clothes were wrinkled, his beard was overgrown, and his eyes looked tired, almost empty. He stood there in silence for a moment, holding his hat in his hands like a child caught doing something wrong. Then he spoke. "Zuri," he said quietly, "I was wrong. I see it now. You were the only one who watched, who learned, who built something real. My sons lost everything, and I lost the real heir." Zuri listened. Not with anger, but with strength. The man who once called her just an extra mouth was now standing in front of her, not as a chief or a father, but as a man full of regret. After a long pause, Zuri replied with a calm voice. "You lost a daughter, yes, but I found myself." Then she turned around and walked back inside, leaving him to stand in the rain. She didn't do it to hurt him. She did it to protect the peace she had finally built. The mansion, the company, the success, none of it came from luck. It came from pain, hard work, and rising above what tried to break her. And in that moment, Zuri realized something. Forgiveness doesn't always mean returning to the past. Sometimes it simply means choosing yourself and moving forward. After everything she had been through, Zuri didn't just want success, she wanted meaning. She remembered her mother's quiet strength, her silent sacrifices, and her deep belief that Zuri was born for more. So, Zuri created something bigger than herself, a foundation in her mother's name. The Aduni Foundation was built to support girls who had dreams but no one to believe in them. Zuri gave them what she never had, a voice, a chance, and someone who saw their worth. At SaharaTranz, she led with vision and discipline. The company, once run like a private family playground, became the most trusted logistics firm in Africa. Everything was different, from how workers were treated to how decisions were made. Zuri made sure the company didn't just grow, but grew with purpose. And under her leadership, it did. New contracts poured in, awards followed, and her name appeared on major business covers. Yet Zuri stayed calm, humble, and focused. One day, a reporter asked her, "How did you manage all of this after everything you faced?" Zuri looked at the young woman, smiled gently, and said, "While he slept, I stayed awake, not for revenge but for purpose." That one sentence told her whole story. Zuri didn't win by fighting back loudly. She won by moving quietly, by learning, planning, and staying true to herself. Her success didn't scream, it whispered. And that whisper traveled far, reaching every girl who ever felt invisible, telling her, "You can rise." Just like Zuri did.